You ready, dude?
How's it going?
Let's do it.
I feel like we're color coordinated. Brown, black, same wavelength. Same wavelength.
Not saying anything. Not going to complain. Not going to respond.
What, I'm not or you're not?
I'm not. I'm not taking the bait.
What bait?
The
what
complaint
are we talking
bait.
about?
I have no idea.
because you're cynical?
Dude. All right, let's get cynical because I got nothing but complaints today. How about that?
Oh, good.
That'll be the thing.
Okay.
We'll just complain about
it'll be
everything.
like the airing of grievances or whatever that is from Seinfeld. Festivus. You know about that?
I do know about Festivus.
I don't know when Festivus is, but we can start.
All right, so my first complaint. Did you know today is National Cookie Day?
Of course I know that.
Why do you know that?
Well, I actually know that because I was recording for my radio show and I pull up national days, funny national days, and I talk about them. So that's how I saw that. But I also saw people on Facebook posting about it too. And I love cookies.
Yeah, let's have heart disease, cancer, diabetes day.
Diabetes.
Totally.
Yeah.
Do you think that these national days are getting out of hand ridiculous?
Well, I mean, there's one like every day. I literally mention one every day.
Not one. Not one.
At least one every day.
At least a dozen national days per day.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure this past Sunday, I think was like National Apple Pie Day.
Okay, so today being December 4th. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Today is National Dice Day because we need that.
Mm-hmm. Protect your package day.
National Cookie Day. Cabernet Franc Day.
Yes.
Extraordinary Work Team Recognition Day.
Yeah.
International Cheetah Day.
It is Protect Your Package Day, I think.
International Day. We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
I'm trying to think if I can remember these.
Santa List Day.
Wear
Brown Shoes Day. World Wildlife Conservation Day. National Sock Day, National Reconciliation Day, Choose Women Wednesday, National Package Protection Day, Lighting, and Special Kids Day.
Lighting?
Just
Lighting Day.
Lighting Day. So, what is this phenomenon and why are we so stupid?
Do you think that maybe over time humans just get bored and they need something? Or is it marketing companies that are like, hey, I sell socks or I sell lighting or cookies. And I'm like, I need a way to get people to buy in bulk or something. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of is we're either really bored or we need people to buy our products, so we make up a national day. Maybe it's both. I don't know.
Human beings have a tendency to take something that is valuable and make it into dog shit. And so we have a day specially celebrating. Let's have 9,473.
Every day.
And then nothing is special.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, like you said, when it comes to the unhealthy eating and the diabetes and all that, you could find probably a national day for any sweet, any food, anything. Yeah, like I said, there's pie day, there's cookie day. I have seen chocolate ice cream day. There's there's literally a day for everything, and every day is something. So are you saying then Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, St. Patrick's Day, all of that is going to be... Why? Because every day is something.
Every day is something. I don't know what I'm supposed to do on Cookie Day. How do I take the epitome of unhealth and worship it appropriately? Do I spread chocolate chips all over my face and dress as a cookie?
They make protein cookies. They do.
So that's what we're celebrating. The majority of the people will be going out there and celebrating health on Cookie Day.
Or do you think that it is conveniently placed near Christmas where people are baking Christmas cookies and here's a reason to make
my
more?
contention is it's all just so stupid. I don't have a box to put it in is really what it comes down to.
Yeah. Why are you trying to step on people's joy? Let me indulge in cookies today.
Do you really need an excuse to eat a cookie?
No.
You really don't. But on Cookie Day, will you eat a cookie just because it's Cookie Day?
I'm going to try not to.
Okay.
Because, I'm trying to be healthier.
What if I had do 12 jumping jacks day? Would it be like, oh, I'm so inspired? Or are people just looking for an excuse to vice? Let's fill it with a bunch of bad behaviors and put a day around it and say, let's go do that. And I'm not doing it because I want to do it. I have to eat a cookie on Cookie Day because it's Cookie Day.
I also have brown shoes on today, so I'm 2 for 2. But I mean, maybe this is some people's way of if they have a miserable life, they hate their job, they can't stand their family, they don't have many hobbies. What's going to turn this day around and make it better? It's National Whatever Day. I'll focus on that.
All right, so I want to create a national day. What's the process even like? Do I go fill out a form and say National Joe Day?
They have that, I think.
Are you serious?
I'm pretty sure there is National Joe Day or whatever Joe Day about Joe. I'm pretty sure I've seen Joe, and I know I've seen Alan. So did Alan make that up?
Had to have found the process of creating a national day and got his own national day.
Yeah.
So let's invent the Everything is Stupid Day. Okay? So this is where we celebrate the overall stupidity of everything that human beings do.
Mm-hmm. We should probably Google and make sure it doesn't already exist.
I totally bet you. National
I
Everything
feel like
is
there's
Stupid
at
Day.
least a chaos day or a
I'm looking it up
anarchy
because
day or something.
National Everything is Stupid.
Everything is stupid.
Now, what money you want to put down, whether or not
It's an actual day? I don't know if it's worded that way, but I bet you there is something similar. I would take that bet.
It's February 4th. National Stupid Day is February 4th.
Oh, man. 2 months away. I knew it. Well, you can coin Everything is Stupid Day if that's not in existence yet. What date would you make it? December 4th? When it was conceived?
Sure. Let's make it today.
Why don't we make it every day?
We don't want to conflict with National Stupid Cookie Day, though.
Well, Everything is Stupid Day, meaning I'm going to eat a bunch of cookies because a national day told me to, even though it's not good for my health. That could be a way of celebrating.
And in every year, you could say National Why Am I So Fat Day, and then why can't I walk up a flight of stairs day, and then why do I visit the doctor day, and why am I on so many prescription medications day, and then why did I die early day?
Yeah. But what if you eat healthy all year until you get to National Cookie Day?
Because that's the majority of people, right? So those exceptions are the ones.
Maybe that's who it's for. Maybe it's like, listen, if you are leading a healthy lifestyle and physical fitness and clean eating is important to you, here's one day of the year, you know what?
You break out and have a cookie.
Yeah, and then...
If I looked at... Okay, let me look days ahead and days behind and see how many virtuous national days there are.
Because Crumble Cookie has got to have a line out the door today.
Yes. All right. So let's go to yesterday. Yesterday would be the 3rd. National Roof Over Your Head Day. I did not celebrate that. International Day of Persons with Disabilities. Let's Hug Day. Make a Gift Day. National Green Bean Casserole Day. Day of Giving. World Trick Shot Day. And Illinois Day. And we'll go to the 5th. National Bathtub Party Day.
Who made that one?
I don't know. International Ninja Day. Shelter Pets Day. International Volunteer Day. National Blue Jeans Day. National Communicate with Your Kids Day. National Commute with Your Baby Day. National Repeal Day. Soil Day. Thailand's National Day. That's
Commute with your baby?
Yes, that's put your baby in the car, take it to work. Commute to work
Go
with
somewhere.
Your car.
Would you keep any of those?
No. No.
None of the Disability Day
No.
or National Giving Day?
No. If it's something that I don't celebrate every day, right? Let's pick like maybe 5 holidays, make them super special, right? Well, why don't we take every national day and just have the day off? And
I was just gonna,
we're gonna have
say that.
Everybody gets the days that apply to them.
I need to request off National Cookie Day.
National Cookie Day. I celebrate Cookie Day, and you will respect my religion of cookies.
Yeah. I celebrate National Stupid Day, and I need a day off. I need a day off.
I gotta go live up my stupidity.
I gotta go be stupid. It's a full day's work.
I wanted to point out the absurdity because we're in for probably, especially the first year of Trump's presidency, things are about to get wild.
Speaking of absurdity, is that it?
Yes. So I want to talk about the things that we're likely to hear over the next 6 months and point out how ridiculous and absurd things are about to get. Okay.
Oh, they're about to get. Not like we've already seen ridiculous and absurd.
Okay, there
this
already
whole election year.
But we're about to hear about them talked incessantly.
Okay.
And we talked about this earlier in the week about our bastardization of terms and not knowing even what things mean and having like emotional connections with things with a disconnect between us and how the real world actually works. So let's bring up 2. So you and I we're really happy that RFK Jr. has a chance to make America healthy again.
Yes.
Sandwiched between National Cookie Day and National Celebrate Obesity, drinking 19 Pepsis, eating pizza for dinner day.
Yep. Followed by Ozempic Day, I'm sure, on the way.
So this will this will parlay into what healthcare even is. Right? And this is one of those absurd things that healthcare is super important to people. But what is healthcare? And is it a right? Is healthcare a right? And what is it?
Well, I mean, taking care of your health. I think when people hear the term healthcare, they are thinking something that the government runs, something that is a government or business type of service is how they are seeing it, rather than healthcare as in how can I affect my health and care for my health and do things that put me in better health. And seeing that as healthcare, maybe being proactive about things, taking a look at your habits. So really it's, where you want to focus on that or on the healthcare is something that the government gives you or businesses offer for you and you take advantage of that.
Okay, so the premise is you are not trying to become ill, you are trying to be healthy, right? So the benefits of healthcare are things like treadmills and grocery store coupons for organic foods and all of the. So RFK is trying to remove some of the stuff from the hidden ingredients that are making a lot of people ill. Right?
Yeah.
But when the healthcare discussion gets going, it's not going to cover all the things we just mentioned. Okay, so somebody who goes and has 3 completely unhealthy meals is not going to say, well, I have a right to health care, and it's not going to mean the same thing that it means to me. Right? So when that person says it, what are they saying?
I have a right for you to supply me a way to fix whatever issue I just caused.
Okay, so do people have a right to health care?
God, that's a
No, we're going to be talking about it, so you have to know what you're talking about and know what people are saying when they demand it.
So my brain goes to issues like people that have certain diseases, certain health issues that are no fault of their own, certain things that happen to them that need addressed and taken care of, which makes me want to say, I would like us all to have a right to health care.
Okay, so play it out. So a person has an illness that needs treatment, okay, and Keep going.
And they need to see a medical professional.
Okay, so a guy that went to school and got the specialization. Mm-hmm. This person has a right for this person to help them free of charge?
I would not say free of charge.
Well, it's a right. It's a free of charge.
Yeah, I guess so.
So the the class of medical professionals in an industry should be put into a mode of servitude, right? And offered their services to people who have a disease.
Do I think that?
If it's a right, that means that your services I have a right to, whether or not I can afford it or not. And so you have to work for me for free because it's a right of mine.
Obviously, I don't like that description of it. No.
Okay, so let's go into what the right is to. Do you have the right to buy those services? Yes.
Yes.
Right? Yes. So you have the right to
purchase.
You have the right to purchase.
Yes.
And we already sort of have that, right? You have the right to purchase services from another professional. If I walk up to you and say, "Hey, that's a nice shirt. Can I have that shirt?" You can say, "Yes, it's $50 and can give you the $50 and you can give me the shirt." I have that right already. There's no law prohibiting me from going to a person that knows how to do something or has something and offering them something that makes them give it to me. Mm-hmm. We have that right. Mm-hmm. So when we're talking about right to health care, all right, let's play it out. If it's not involuntary servitude, where we're not asking medical professionals to be slaves, then we move that to say, who are we asking to be slaves? So if we're not asking the professional to provide it, they're still going to be paid. So is it then the hospital that has to provide you the service for free? And the hospital is a slave of you.
Again, I don't like that
description,
but
all right. Well, so we'll let the doctor make his money. We'll make the hospital make their money. So let's go to the government, right? The government funded by the taxpayer. So now is the taxpayer the person that is the slave? Who gets to give without getting?
Who gets to give without getting?
Yeah. So I get to give you my shirt, and then you've concocted a reason why you don't have to give me anything for that shirt. And so if I bypass you, then I'm going to say, well, just have the building operator give you the money for the shirt. And then they're like, well, what about, it's not fair to him, right?
Yeah.
He gives you the shirt. So the taxpayer then gives the building operator. So then it comes to me as a taxpayer. I'm like, wait. Why am I on the hook for your freaking shirt?
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, even if you say, well, let's have everybody pay into this system, whether it's the government or company or whatever, and then they are the ones that fund the doctors and the hospitals and everything, so technically you're paying to get that treatment. But then it's like, oh, hey, by the way, I don't work, and I have chronic health issues, and so I'm going to be going to a medical professional all the time without paying. And you who choose to be healthy, you keep paying for me. Thanks.
Somebody's getting a bad deal in that whole thing. So, okay, let's roll it back. So just as an individual, if you were doing something, are you allowed to set the terms for that person? So if I'm going to give you a lung, right? You got a bad lung. I'm going to say, I'll give you my lung, but you have to promise me that you're not going to abuse it. You're not going to smoke. Right? You're not going to do things that are going to, you're not going to take any risk with his lung. I'm willing to make the sacrifice of my lung. You just got to honor, the gift by changing your behavior so you don't make it now more likely that you need another lung because I'm already giving up something that I value for you to be made whole. Mm-hmm. So am I allowed to dictate then to you the terms of because then it's not involuntary servitude. There are strings attached to your behaviors. So let's just say you're an obese person and now you have chronic heart disease, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're going to go to the hospital and the doctor's going to work on you and get paid. The hospital's going to get paid and the taxpayer is going to fund the things. But the taxpayer is going to say, okay, now you're no longer allowed to eat cheeseburgers, potato chips, drink any Pepsi. Got to buy into this tyrannical ingredients list of now you got to live a whole different life so that if I'm willing to save you from your bad choices, you now have to change all of your choices to honor that gift. Would you? Could you? Is it fair? Do you have the freedom, right? Do you have the freedom to make your own choices?
Yes.
Do you have the freedom to make bad choices?
Yes.
Should that freedom extend to the repercussions of your bad choices? Should they?
Should they extend to the repercussions?
Well, you had the freedom. You bought the bad things by the set of choices.
So if there are repercussions, then yeah.
So the taxpayer pays the repercussions, and then you get to wander off and make the same amount of choices. That's not fair to the taxpayer.
Right. Yeah, and I could see the point of saying, well, I'm going to put some stipulations on this, if that is enforceable. You know, like in the instance of a lung, if I say, I promise you give me your lung, I'm not going to smoke, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to keep it healthy, and then I don't, what are you going to do? Take it back?
All right, so here's an instance. You in your neighborhood are the official Narcan donator. You bought some Narcan, and there's a guy down the street's got a drug problem. And the police come to you and say, dude overdosed, Narcan, right? So they take your Narcan, and you're feeling all good. You saved this guy's life, right? What about the second time? What about you saved his life once, and the police come to your house again and say, need another thing of Narcan? Are you going to be like, oh, sure, here you go.
Let me keep doing this for you.
He made the same choice, and it ended up in the same route, and now there's a dependency of Narcan on me, and then we didn't change any kind of behavior, so he's going to need Narcan again.
Yeah.
So the donator is going to have to now be responsible for a third one. By the 5th, 9th, 12th time that people make bad choices and you were on the hook for them, is there a point where you're like, time out?
Yeah,
it's too much.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, what the hell? Can you maybe not? Can you change something so that I don't have to keep doing this for you?
Now, all of this discussion leads to tyranny, where people cannot make their own choices, so they don't deserve the freedom to be able to make bad choices and be on the hook for the taxpayer to be able to relieve them of their Narcan deal without saying, all right, your freedoms are now out, right? You went into the system, you made bad choices, you don't have those freedoms anymore. Your responsibilities are gone. So as a libertarian, I do not agree with the removal of liberties at all, because once you give those up, it's a really slippery slope and a bad cycle to the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I would rather just have people deal with their own repercussions. But going into it, you know, when you make the choice, this is what it purchases. You have the information. So if I want to say, buy my drugs and do my overdose, I know that if I overdose, I am just going to die, right? Because you're done. You're no longer going to Narcan me and let me stay in that cycle. So I got to really contemplate when I'm taking those drugs, whether or not I'm cool with the dying part of this, or I think I'm going to take the risks that maybe I die, maybe I don't, but it's all on me, and I can shoulder those responsibilities.
Yeah, like I got to get my own Narcan, and if I think I can get my own Narcan, then maybe I'll go ahead and dabble a little bit more. But if I can't, I better not. So how do you feel then in instances where, let's say somebody is still doing what they can, trying to live a healthy lifestyle, but still has medical issues that come up, and they want to be able to afford that care, but can't. Maybe they're still working, they're still doing what they can. What do you say then about any regulations as far as how much that should cost somebody, or what is reasonable for someone to get that help?
Well, we've always been sort of like a culture of charity. And the church played a really big role in when you had trouble, right? You went to the church, but you just don't go get a handout. You got some asshole that would make you feel guilty every day about it. You didn't want to take the help because it came with the strings and stipulations. You had an actual person that you had to face down, and they would lecture you about your bad choices, right? But along with that charity, when you truly had someone that I remember as a kid, my dad lost his job and the church delivered groceries there. Now, it didn't come with a lecture because my dad didn't do anything wrong. He just lost his job. But if you take a government, you lose the connection between facing down a real person that helped you and this big behemoth of a nanny that's there to rescue you in your need. I want it to be on a more local level where the person that's helping you and they can feel good about having helped you. Do you think one person who took your tax charity prays every day and thanks Kellen for the portion of taxes that you paid? No, there's nobody to be grateful to, right? So you disconnect that. And I will always I can picture the people who brought the groceries to me and fed my family when we absolutely needed it, right? And so, like, we talked earlier in the week about only taking what you need and leaving what you can. Like, we didn't want to have the church come and rescue us, but damn if it didn't feel good that there were people out there willing to help when it actually needed it. So on a local level, you have somebody that's suffering from cancer and they need someone to kick in the bill, and you have the doctor willing to make it as cheap as possible. Like, you have all these people getting together to help on a common cause, but you take the human beings out of the equation, and now it's just the government, and they write checks and they buy votes and all of that other corruption that goes along with. So who should be doing it is more important than what should be done.
So interesting. I'm trying to think then how that would look or literally how that would play out. If let's say you're a single guy, you don't have a family, maybe you live somewhere there's no family around, don't have a lot of friends, maybe you're new to the area, you don't really know anybody, and you're trying to go to work one day, and let's say someone hits you, you get in a car accident, you need medical attention, and you don't have health insurance. Like, you don't have any sort of government assistance, because we're in this realm where pay for what you need and don't if you don't, and have people help you. What is your move? What's your first move? What do you do? How do you get that care?
Well, the churches and the hospitals always cover it. And you're talking about an exception that is not the drain on the system.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so if you had the Nuns of Catholic Churches hospital, right? And they had a philosophy that they fix people and worry about the money later, right? When you walk in the hospital, what is like the first question that they ask you? Do you have insurance, right?
Yeah.
You're just a mark. You're just a income stream, right?
Yeah.
And they know they're getting paid in a certain way because they're billing an insurance company. And without that card, they don't know how they're getting paid. What if somebody came in to my computer office and said, I'm new to the area, and my hard drive, my computer is dead, and my son passed away last year, and there's pictures of him on this. I don't know anybody. I don't have any money to pay for these pictures, right? Should there be a government interest in bailing someone out, or should there just be another person on the other side of the counter that feels for you, right, and does it out of the good nature of who they are, versus the nanny is the good-natured person, right? And you sever the human connection between two people. Someone actually did come with that, so I cited it out of reality, and it got me with another human being to connect on a certain level, right?
Yeah.
And forging relationships that way because of what I was willing to do to bail someone out of their deal. But if we outsource good nature to the government, and they're not good people.
But is there enough, though, that if now a whole bunch of people needed you that can't pay, and you're like, wait, I can't give you all free stuff. Like, I can't afford to do that. Or are you saying you think that would be not realistic?
In 20 years, I've been asked maybe twice in a scenario like that. Because if emergencies happen every day, they're not really emergencies. And that's why if we take the health thing and we say, why are people so unhealthy? Because of bad choices. Then the emergency ones, the ones that would slip through the cracks, they're very easily...
Or the people that want to be...
For sure.
What's the word I'm looking for? Not malicious, but abuse it, you know.
But that's when you need something and you have to walk into a church and face someone down and tell your sob story and then make you feel terrible for being in the situation... Right? That makes it... The scammers are not going to do that. You know what the scammers do? They're the ones that asking you for your insurance card when you walk through the door. Those are the scammers. If it's easy, it's take advantage. If I set up a table with $100 bills, then You have people walk up to the table and they take the $100 bills. It's super easy to just scam. When I make it really hard to scam, where you got to give me equal value for whatever that $100 bill is on the table, you're less likely to scam it because now you got to work for it. There are easier marks out there. We do have a scamming society, and we're not really great people because the government is not really good at being a charitable organization. They create dependency. The more that, because they compete against the hearts of people, right? So everything we think the government needs to fill a role to make people whole, when it should be individual on an individual to make people whole.
Do you think that's realistic?
Yes,
what
there are 350 million people here. The only reason it's not realistic now is because they outsourced that to our nanny. It's the only reason. We get to a culture where it's more one-on-one. When you need something, you're talking to your neighbor or your family or your friends or your church or
going
people
back
that
to
you
sort
know.
of bartering with the people in your realm.
Exactly. But since the government competed with people in that realm, we lost that ability, or are starting to lose the ability, to just go to our peers and ask for the help that we need, because they can give you more accountability. Without that accountability, can you imagine, like, if you were exercising and you need your coach or your trainer to make sure you did 20 push-ups, right? You had one-on-one. What's going to keep you honest there? Well, obviously the criticism, if you don't do it, because you're going to have to answer to a person that's looking at what you do, right? Versus, being able to be in a shroud of mystery. How many 20 push-ups are you going to do when you don't have the person forcing you to do it? We're making bad decisions because we have the freedom to make them, and I love that. I love the liberties that we get to enjoy. But if we make too many bad choices, we end up in a bad spot. So,
well, do you think people would still then choose to go into professions like being a doctor or medical professional? Because I could only imagine that their pay would go down.
For sure. It absolutely would.
If they're like, hey, I'm not making thousands of dollars a year, like I was, or I'm not making hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm only making a little bit because now it's basically I've got to help people out of the goodness of my heart.
Exactly.
Then do we sort of lose a lot of that resource, or do you think people would still be willing to do it?
If we allow the market forces to happen, then culture will follow those market forces. And we're in a bad spot right now because we've let it go too far to the other way, where the correction will be messy. And that's why I say all of these fixes that we're going to hear in the next 6 months are DOA, because the things you're going to make are so messy. People in the middle aren't going to know, like, they're already stuck in their bad choices. Like, what about me? Like, now, can you, okay, let's use Social Security. Total scam Social Security. All right. We pay into a system, and the government receives our money, and they spend it on other projects, right? They spend it elsewhere. So there's not like a place where all of our money is sitting there. So now when we're paying into it, it requires other people to be able to pay into it to cover us. And there's a portion where it goes upside down, where now it's coming out of the taxpayer, right?
Yeah.
To pay for the benefits that are needed elsewhere, right?
Yep.
And so, like, right now, I can say, my kid, he hasn't started paying Social Security. Let's not let him pay into Social Security and be part of that slog, that process of the money he puts in never gets realized, and it just becomes a taxpayer in the future that's paying him. Let's opt him out, right? And so he starts putting it into, like, the stock market. The same money that we put in on Social Security, he's just putting into a private investment on his end. Well, why doesn't that work? Well, the system's effed already, and they need him to pay into the broken system to pay today's, or else it all goes all on the taxpayer. So we're screwed because we're right in that middle, where the middle people are like, well, hold on, you can't change the rules now. Ryan needs to go to work, and he needs to pay into Social Security because I need my check.
Yeah.
How do you fix it? You can't. It's DOA.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so the right to affordable housing. I've heard this one a lot. This is going to come up.
Okay.
Same exact premise and problem. Why is housing unaffordable?
Why is housing unaffordable?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
There's a lot of kids that are still living at home
Yeah.
because they can't afford to pay for an apartment or a rental or a house.
Yeah, supposedly they're saying that mortgages or rent or whatever is going up and they're not able to find jobs that pay enough for that.
Yep. So now there's a right to affordable housing. Mm-hmm. Is it a right?
I mean, I feel like that brings us right back around to I'm a landlord, I'm a home builder, and I'm just supposed to
give you something?
This. Yeah, I know it's in demand. I know I can make money on it.
We want everybody to have a house.
Yeah.
But we don't want everybody to have a house that wants one. We want someone to have a house who can afford one.
Yep.
And we want people to be able to afford one. So, like, as long as you follow that, those set of principles, can you afford the health care? What if you can't afford the health care? Well, in healthcare, you might die, right? So then you have to ask for the charity of another person in order. So who then is responsible for making sure that there is affordable health care? Is it the taxpayers? The taxpayers just have to build houses so that people who can't afford it can have a house?
I don't know. Wouldn't it be your responsibility, I guess? I want to hear you explain this one too.
No, it's the exact same thing with healthcare. It's a resource that's owned by another person. Either you're going to do it yourself or you're going to get it from a person who's selling it. And the people who can afford it are buying it, which means that there aren't any left for you. Right? So that means we need to build houses. So who's going to build houses? The people who can't afford it or the people who have already sold or could sell it to someone who will pay them full price?
Oh, yeah. So what do you do?
All right, so you got to ask yourself why is home ownership so expensive?
I feel like there's a couple of different things. You know, it could be the cost of what the person who has the home is dealing with. Like if you're building a house and all of a sudden wood and everything you need to build a house just skyrockets in cost. Well, now so does my cost to build you a house. So that's one aspect of it. It could also be a certain area. If there's not a lot of availability in a certain area, like, hey, we only have so much here, that can sort of increase it too, the cost.
All right, supply demand. When you have more buyers than you do sellers, okay, prices go up.
Right.
When you have inflation, prices go up.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
And so in order to create housing for people who are, it's sort of like the renter's, dilemma. If you owned a house and you wanted to rent it, would you want a good tenant in there or a bad tenant in there?
A good tenant.
A good tenant. And you'd have certain stipulations that would make it so they would take care of your property and they'd have enough money to pay your rent and they would be a good tenant. What about the bad tenants? Where are they supposed to live? Well, you're going to say,
not my place.
Make better choices.
Yeah.
Here's my profile of a good tenant. Be that, and then I will be your renter, right?
Yeah.
So do you get to control the choices of other people? If you're saying, I want to be able to give you a house, but I need to control your choices so that you are a good renter. You're a healthy renter. And when they eat the cheeseburger, are you allowed to then deprive them of the free medical care?
Well, and then I feel like greed always kind of comes into play too, because let's say I am a renter and I've got more than one excellent choices for people or I'm a landlord and I've got more than one good renter. Maybe there's like 5, 6, 7, 8 really good renters. So how much are you going to give me? How much are you going to give me? How much are you going to give me? And then don't you think also that can sort of play into it as well?
Well, define the term. What is greed?
Greed, wanting more than you need, wanting more and more, not wanting as much as you can get, even if you don't need it.
That's interesting.
Why?
Is that a lived principle by all people? Do we expect companies to not be greedy and everyone else gets to be greedy? If religion, we're teaching this stuff.
Yeah.
They would teach humility and to only take what you need. But we kind of outlined in the previous shows that that's not human nature.
Right.
So why would we pick housing as the only place we're going to plop the whole greed leverage check mark next to.
Oh, I don't think it is the only one. I mean,
so okay, but if you bought that shirt instead of a $5 shirt, are you being greedy? That's more than you need, right? You did it, whatever. So if that's not greed, what is?
I don't know. I always sort of see greed as sort of almost like an insatiable wanting for something, wanting more, getting more if you can, now getting more if you can, benefiting yourself, even if it's at the cost of others.
That's another term that you can apply to everyone.
Yeah.
Greed is an actual vice. Mm-hmm. Okay. And either you're contending that everybody suffers from greed and it is okay, it's blessed, right? Or there's greed like when you say Elon Musk is greedy, right? Because that statement is more envy than it is greed, right? He has more than me, so now I'm envious of him, and then I shoulder him with the term greed.
Yeah.
I don't think we use greed appropriately.
Well, yeah, not.
I think everyone through the pursuit of prosperity is going to work for something to get something that they want, and I don't think that's greedy. So if I build a house and I take the largest offer that someone gives me, that's not greedy. It's the same thing that you would do if you were shopping for something. You would take the lowest price on something to get the most amount of value out of something that you want. Mm-hmm. It's the same.
So what is greed?
Let's look up the actual definition of greed, because I think, again, this is another one that we get wrong.
Just throw that word out there and use it incorrectly.
Yeah, and we use it as a cudgel against people that we disagree with. We want to say that the other guy's being greedy and we were just being practical. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I'm going to look at it from the Webster's, which is not going to be right. And then I'm going to look at it from the theology greed.
Why is Webster's not right?
Oh, you're going to see. You'll see. Intense and selfish desire for something, especially wealth, power, or food. Intense and selfish desire.
Kind of what I said. Insatiable. It's something that is you're benefiting from and not others. Okay. Intense and selfish desires.
Okay. And they were exactly the same. A selfish and excessive desire for more of something than is needed, often in money and power. All right. So more than you need. We've talked about more than you need more in this show than ever.
We've talked about it more than we need to.
Yes. Oh, see what you did there.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So pretty much then everyone is greedy. Everyone.
I think to an extent.
Is there anybody that is consuming at par with what they need, or is everyone?
Nuns, monks.
Okay, all right. So everybody's greedy. So what then is the difference if you practiced greed today, and the landlord that practiced greed today, and the doctor that practiced greed today, and the entertainer that practiced greed today?
Yeah.
Right?
The only difference, I think, is how large of a scale.
So if he said, he said, here's the deal. I will take the low bidder from people who themselves are not greedy. So my rent price is $1,000. You come to me, you show me that you're not a greedy person. I get to walk through your life and you get it for $500.
That's going to be pretty difficult to do.
Impossible. Impossible to do. So again, this is why this is dead on arrival, because it feels good to say things like we have a right to healthcare. Sounds like, oh, you're being charitable. Well, you want people to have it until it's framed this way. And that guy's greedy and he should want less.
Like price gouging. You always hear them say, oh, we need to stop the price gouging.
Yeah, okay. What's price gouging? There's one instance of price gouging to me.
Okay.
Right? It's when you see a person and you know, like if I was selling umbrellas all the time for $5 and a rain cloud comes in and starts raining and my price goes up to $10 because of the rain. Or I sell plywood for $10 a sheet and a hurricane starts coming and it goes up to $50 a sheet. That is price gouging. That wasn't based on materials or cost.
So you're not talking about, it's not like, well, now I need to order more umbrellas and I can't get them at a certain price. It's just, I have enough.
Because of a situation,
I'm just doing it.
A situation that presented itself that meant that I can raise a price because the demand skyrockets, and I'm just raising my price arbitrarily because of that.
Because I know
demand.
you'll pay it because you want them.
So, all right, I'll give you. You're at the park and you're selling water, and you've got 10 cases of water, and so you start selling them for 50 cents. Okay. And you're like, oh, shit, they're selling at 50 cents. Now they are, I'm down to my last 2 cases. Now they're $1. Is that price gouging?
Because you were down to your last 2 cases?
Yeah, I'm running low on supply now, right?
Yeah.
I only got 2. Like, I have to stay here the whole day and sell water.
Well, yeah,
I'm going to be gone in an hour.
Yeah, you're doing it to stay in business, basically.
Okay. What about you get your last 2 bottles and now they're $10 a bottle? Is it price gouging?
I don't think so. Well,
like, people often raise prices to prevent their stock from totally selling out. They want to be able to offer a product, and to slow the sale of that product, you raise the price so that somebody doesn't come in and buy all that you have. So they're like, if let's just say there was toilet paper, right?
Business, yeah.
Your toilet paper. And one guy's going to come in and buy all of it at $10. And you don't want that to happen. So you raise it to $100. And now 50 families can buy toilet paper, even if it was at a raised price.
So, okay, yeah, because, I mean, we saw this in 2020, and that was sort of the example I was thinking, too, is everybody was like, oh, these grocery stores are price gouging with the toilet paper and this and that. But then you sort of saw this turn where they said, okay, we're selling these high in-demand items, but you're only allowed to buy 2. You're only allowed to buy 1 per transaction kind of thing. That, I'm guessing, then is in response to the claim of price gouging.
You can limit the quantity of purchases, or you can raise the prices. Those are 2 market forces that protect inventories. So to me, when you accuse someone of price gouging, you have to like prove the intent of what you did. Like if you had plenty of plywood and the only reason that you raised your prices is because you could, that would be price gouging. And that is connected with greed. You didn't have to, you capitalized on the misfortunes of another person. And you can always tell when something is a vice because it's connected with bad behaviors in other departments. Just because you have something that I don't, doesn't mean that you're greedy or I'm envious, right? It's connected to another vice is how you can tell.
Kind of like if you've ever gone to an auction and you're like, I want to buy that for $5. And someone's like, well, I want to buy it for $10. How about you? I'll pay $20. Okay, anyone? Well, I'll pay $30. Well, now it's yours, you know? Is that greedy? Is that...
No, I think that's the way that our system works. So if a landlord has 10 houses and he's got $50,000 put in each house, right? Under a market system that we have, his objective is to get the most amount of money from his investment. In a communist, different system, I want to know what you paid for it, and I only want to give you a reasonable amount over what you paid for it, right? And so long that those are the rules going into it, no problem. But if you made the investment thinking that you are going to get a windfall because of it, and now I've limited your upside, would you be willing to take the risk and build the house and buy the property and have it sit on the market and have all the expenses that go along with it and all the liabilities? You wouldn't be able to. So long going into it, all the risks, then, it's an acceptable thing to make as much money as you can on something. Because that's golden rule. Like, how would you want to be treated? If you were the person that you were accusing from, how would you make different choices? And if you would have made the same amount of choices if you were in the same spot, then they didn't really do anything wrong. If you were to evaluate them. And especially because we are exercising the same greeds, the same selfishness that the landlord is, we're no better than them, so we can't exact some kind of you need to make changes, but I'm going to sit home and be greedy thing.
Yeah, I mean, like that's kind of even where contracts come into play. If someone is selling a house or anything really, and they're like, hey, I see you are asking this much. Make a deal with me. I will buy that from you right now. Don't look at anyone else's offer. Let's have a contract and I'll do this for you or whatever. And then you sign that. You can't now go and say, oh, but you know what? They offered me more money. Don't care. You signed a contract.
Would you feel better, though, that if they were like, well, this guy offered me $50,000 more for you, or you let me void this contract out so I can sell to the other guy?
Well, I mean, if I was somebody who wanted the thing, I wouldn't feel better. I'd be like, no, you told me you'd give it to me for this.
But if they gave you the choice, that would be okay, right? Because they say, I gave you my word and I made a promise, and I know I can get better by going to this other person, but I'm going to ask you, can you let me out of this contract so I can sell it to the other guy? And then you could be the opposite of greedy, right? And be like, oh, that guy's going to make some more money if I give him, let him get out of this contract. That's nice of me. I'm kind of considerate about him being more prosperous.
But what if it's something you really needed? And you're like, I can't let you out. I need that.
Well, if you need it, that's one thing. But what if you don't need it? It's more than you need.
Well, that's different.
Would you do the kind thing to another person if you were buying more than you needed anyway?
If I didn't need it, if I was like, I don't need that really, and you can benefit and I'm indifferent, then benefit.
I had one dude, I sold something, okay, so I had the money and they didn't, right? They had something I wanted, I had the money. So what I said was I was going to buy the thing that they didn't have the money for, right? And then when I had the thing, I was going to trade them for the thing that they had, and we're going to swap, right? Mm-hmm. Did this contract, made my purchase, and the value of the thing I wanted in the period of time it took me to buy the thing went up in value. So let's just say my thing, they were both about $14,000. And then I bought the thing for $14,000, and the thing that they had went up to $16,000. And they were like, the value went up. It's not really an even trade anymore. And I was thinking, I bought this freaking thing that I didn't even need, knowing that I was going to be trading it with you to get that off of your hands because you didn't want that thing. And now you're asking me for $2,000 more because it went up in value. And I was like, this is the, and so who's greedy in that?
The guy who said, I want more because this went up in value.
Not the guy who's going to get $2,000 more in value for doing nothing.
I don't know. This is why there are court systems and lawsuits.
Well, it was an agreement, right? Uh-huh. And I ended up paying, because I'm a nice guy, I paid $2,000 more and made them whole on it because they were going to feel ridiculously bad if it is. And I knew that if I sold it right now, I got full value, but I didn't have to.
Yeah.
Right?
It's sort of like, well, how much do you want that thing?
Right. Well, I was doing as a favor. I didn't want either of them. I would have never bought either of them. I was helping someone out. And to play, like, this is why I'm so cynical. The mistreatment. The mistreatment that I've had in doing.
If I was in that situation on a regular basis, I'd be pretty annoyed and cynical all the time too.
But I wanted them to say, yeah, this thing went up and I feel really bad about it. I'm willing to pull through on this. But they weren't going to give it to me. I know they weren't going to give it to me because of that. They were hung up on the increased value on the thing that they agreed to give to me.
But I feel like then what do we do? I mean, things are always going to change when it comes to value. People are always going to want things that other people also want. So how do you just say, hey, I saw you're selling this for this much. Here's this much. It is now mine. End of discussion. Not unless someone else makes me a better offer, or unless it goes up in value, or unless. It's like, when do you just have a transaction and you don't have to worry about someone stealing it out from under you?
You got to make a better crop of people, because not everybody's
well, that's not going to happen.
No. And that's why I said this stuff's dead on arrival and we are headed towards communism, because unless you, and what you said about having a court figure it out means that there's an authority, there's an arbiter who's going to make good, reasonable decisions. And if I got to explain my side and they got to explain their side, the court would make a decision that is right down the middle and fair for both parties. And as long as we need a nanny to figure out, instead of us being able to work through something like I have the lung and you have the smoking problem, like you don't do the smoking problem and I'll give you my lung. As long as we can't work through those things, then we need a nanny to make good decisions. Now, that'd be cool if the government and those nannies were good people too, but they're not either. So you really don't have an arbiter that are going to allow human beings to make reasonable, fair transactions with one another. So you're always going to have the people versus healthcare, the people versus landlords, the people versus anybody else they're envious of, right? And now we're pitted against one another with no middleman that has our best interest at heart.
Yeah. God, I'm sitting here now trying to think, how would a judge rule on that situation? Like, you had a deal, you had an agreement. Now this guy bought this. You don't want to give him your end of the deal. He is out. Now he's out. He just purchased something you wouldn't have purchased without your deal. But now you don't want to lose out. What do you think a judge would do? I'm like, Judge Marilyn Milian, what would she say?
Well, justice, if it were actual real thing, would have sided with me for sure. Had an agreement. I came through on my part. You come through on your part. Transaction's done, right? That would be justice. So you eat cheeseburgers, you get unhealthy, you die. That would be justice. Justice is not a kind thing. It's not up to the justice system or an arbiter or a system to be good to you, right? It's up to human beings like me versus you. I saw your end and I know I didn't have to. I knew that every judge would side with me. I wanted to be giving to you, and I forgave the $2,000 of increased value on your part, and I made it whole not because I had to, because I'm the better person in the negotiation, right?
Yeah.
And that's what sorts this out and makes people better. You model the behaviors you wish you would. I'm going to show you and explain to you and be accountable to you that you should be a better person too. So the next deal, hey, I'm going to give you this, and I want you to I want you to know that you should be more honest about your deals. You're going to feel bad about it sometimes because sometimes you're going to win and sometimes you're going to lose. And when you lose, right, you got to be humble about the loss and make better decisions the next time you make a deal where we split the difference and we agree that if this thing goes up in value, I'm going to make 1,000 less and you're going to make 1,000 more. And as long as you give me that option to agree to that in the beginning, that means you don't have to feel bad about it later and want to renege on your deal just because you lost. It makes people smarter.
Yeah, that's true. You really then have to think about stipulations then in the deal.
Makes people smarter instead of offloading and outsourcing to a government to do all your bidding for you. Human beings are getting stupider because we're not, when I say that relationships, you think rainbows and butterflies, like two people always getting along, that's only half the story, right? It's not always rainbows and butterflies. So you and we have to get good at agreeing and also disagreeing and coming up with ways of making each other whole even when we lose, right?
Yes. It's always like you always be serving someone else. Like, how can I make this deal good for you? And you think, how can I make the deal good for me?
That's exactly right.
And then you really can't lose if you're watching out for each other other than just yourself.
Right. But we want to be left alone in our liberty where we don't want your opinion. We don't want your influence. We don't want this until it goes bad. And now we want to talk all of a sudden. I would rather someone say, I want this and I want to know how to get this and help me get this. And then we're equal participants. Yeah. I'll tell you how to do it. You do your thing. We come through on each other and we hand off the thing. And both of us feel great on the other side of it. Even if it's not perfect, right? But think of like, we'll say the ice cream example, because everybody hated that guy for depriving his kid of his ice cream when he spilled it on the floor.
Yeah.
Right? So let's just take, what if you're your kid? Your kid was like, I want a car. And you're like, you got to save for it. I don't want to save for it. Okay, well, you don't get the car, right? And so I want to do everything I want to do. I want to go out. I want to buy clothes. I want to have all this entertainment. You get to the point and you're like, hey, you're getting close to being 16 and you're not really saving for that car. Yeah, leave me alone. I don't want your influence. I don't want to talk. And you get to 16 and you're like, all my friends have cars and I don't have a car, right? You get to now be able to go back and say, hey, those Saturday nights and that's your car right there. How's that feel?
Or you could be like, fine, here's the deal. You didn't save for your car. You want a car. Let's say now you even want to get a job and you need a car. What are you going to do? All right, could I get you a car? I could. Do you need it for work? You do. So how about this? I'm going to buy you a car, and you are going to take me wherever I want to go, whenever I want to go there. Oh, and you're going to put gas in it, even if it's a trip that I wanted you to take. And I can list all these stipulations because guess what? That's our deal. I got a car, you can use it, and you now do this for me.
So now you're the car landlord, and everybody's going to say that you are greedy because now you're depriving the kid of the car with all these strings and stipulations.
All these stipulations,
See,
yes.
Before the fact was easy. After the fact is hard. After you've eaten 1,000 cheeseburgers, right? Mm-hmm. You need all kind of health care, and now you want someone else to give it to you. You spent all the clothes and did the entertainment, and now you want the car, but now it's way harder than if you'd just took the information on the onset.
So this might even sort of lead us into this video I saw online the other day. Speaking of where things are going with Trump and people's opinions on that, I saw this person posted a reel, and she said, I was in a store the other day and I watched a man in real time learn about tariffs. And I was like, here we go. And she said, this man is a friendly with this business owner and talks to them all the time. He's a customer all the time. And the business owner was telling him, oh, man, the cost of our produce now is about to go way up. And the guy said, why? Why are you going to charge me more for this produce? And he says, well, I get that from Mexico or from whatever country. And now there's going to be tariffs. And he's like, so why would you charge me more money for it? I'm just your customer. And he's like, I get that from another country, and now there are tariffs. And he said, and you're going to make me pay more to offset that cost. And they're like, yeah. And that was like the end of the video. What do you say on that?
Well, it's great. Because Joe's cabbage farm or Joe's lettuce farm or whatever you're buying down the road from you can't compete with Mexico. So Joe wins.
Yeah.
Right? Because now he's going to be able to sell it where you got this cheap stuff that they're paying slave labor, not following any of the guidelines and regulations that are here in the United States, and they get to undercut people that work in your own neighborhood. Right? This is amazing for Joe's cabbage farm.
We were saying hindsight. Should we all then have just been shopping local and been supporting our own country's goods and labor and paying that from the get-go? But no, we went a cheaper route, got used to that cheaper route, and now when we're like, but we have to support our own, and you got to support your neighbors. So here's what trade should be.
Trade should be things that you can't do in your own country. Okay? So if we can't grow coffee beans in California, and then you have Mexico who can't grow walnuts in Mexico, then we take what they can't do and what we can't do, and we figure out a way to exchange those goods for each other's countries, right? But if you can make it here, do it here, and don't use the dysregulation in other countries and the slave labor to get it cheaper in here and undercut people who pay taxes and are supportive of your own neighborhoods.
Yeah, because when I saw that video, my first thought is you are the type of person that is going to now go to another business and ask for a handout for your kids' fundraiser, for your local schools, whatever.
Yeah, go ask freaking Mexico.
Yes.
Go ask Asia. Go ask Africa, wherever you buy this stuff.
Yep.
You know, you're
when you bought that sweater or that car or that whatever, when you bought that online from another country or another place, but then turned around and went to your local retailers and asked for money, or they end up going out of business and you're like, why can't I get what I need? Why do I got to wait for shipping? Why can't I just run over and buy this? Oh, I don't know why.
Now, the hope is like this is going to go really well if manufacturers haven't been so decimated that they can't produce this stuff anymore. So when you put a cabbage farm out of business because nobody will pay $3 because they're used to paying it from Mexico for $1, like how long does it take then for somebody to open up a new cabbage farm? Because now you have the advantage, or maybe you just have an equal advantage, and now it's not worth bringing it in from Mexico when you could bring it down the street. Hopefully we're quick and dynamic where we can start producing the stuff that we used to get from other countries. I think in the short term, just the fact that the other countries are threatened from losing that business, the terms of what it takes to come into this country will be negotiated. So we might lose on cabbage, but win on semiconductors.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's that, but then the writing will be on the wall for local producers. Like, for instance, we used to have all of the steel mills. Now we get all of our steel from China. There's like 2 steel mills. I'm making this up, but we'll say there's 2 steel mills in the country. We're like, oh, now it's more expensive. Now I could open a steel mill. How many entrepreneurs in the United States will go and open new steel mills today, right, to take advantage of that business? Because if it's just Chinese steel, then people are building stuff and are like, oh, it's just more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's United States steel, the economy grows, wages grow, and then the growth in the economy will absorb the increase in costs for individual items because it's staying here in this country.
What do you say when people say the reason they outsource or the reason they get something that is not American made is because the product is better? That some products made in America are not as good as their competition elsewhere?
I think that's bullshit. I think anybody can make products that are equally in quality. Like, that might be something that you measured right now. So basically, if I want to, let's take 2 companies, and we'll use a lithium manufacturer. Okay, so I want to dig in the ground, get lithium, refine it, and sell it to the battery industry. And then China is going to go do this. Joe in China is going to do the exact same thing. Why is it more expensive for me to refine lithium? Right? So China, they can dig in the ground. They don't have to get permits. They don't have to follow EPA guidelines. They don't have to, they can pollute and do whatever. So they have half the responsibilities that I do when I have to do it right, follow the guidelines, pay people a certain wage and get the proper permits and make sure it's done safely. Mm-hmm. So in the United States, all of that regulation makes my product more expensive. So would you rather China follow the same regulations as me, and now you don't have to charge a tariff? If they just had to do everything that I do, it's equal price. And they can do the exact same product that I do, but now it costs the exact same time. So let's just say somebody said you have to pay your workers $15 an hour. You have to follow the EPA guidelines in order to import something in there. You know what you're going to find? It's the exact same freaking price. There was no gouging. There was no, greed that went along there. The only reason it was cheaper is because of the reduced labor and the reduced regulations. Or would you want to take the regulations and lower them in the United States so that now you're more competitive with the cheaper stuff that's coming in from overseas? I say both.
Okay.
I say regulations that, like, government has to justify their existence, right? Uh-huh. And so they put regulations on it that make absolutely no sense.
And I was just thinking, too, you keep hearing these people that are like, oh, they're going to cut all these regulations and now things are going to be unsafe.
Yes.
Those are in place for a reason. Now people are going to have...
Bullshit and bullshit and bullshit.
Yeah.
There are some, you can only say that there are some that are necessary and a lot aren't. Okay? Mm-hmm. And so if we said, we're going to take regulations down and eliminate the unnecessary regulations. So if the EPA regulations make sure that I'm not dumping into the water, pollution in the water, keep that one. That's a good one. Right?
I just watched an interview the other day on YouTube. These people were talking about this and regulations, and someone's like, well, things are there for a reason. They're in place for a reason. And this guy's like, you ever try to put on a garage door in the state of California? There's about 30 regulations and 3 different permits and all these things so that I can change my garage door.
Here is government in a nutshell. Okay. Uh-huh. Regulations are just a tax on business. Okay. So I did a show in Las Vegas, and part of the permit process was that I had to have a government official do an inspection before the deal. They charged me $250, and the official, that was to pay 2 people on a Saturday to come and do this with the overtime that they'd have to spend an hour, did an inspection, made total sense. The government probably got $100 of that for their paperwork. The employee that had the set of officers that had to come down, they got the $100. Made total sense. That was a completely good regulation, and I was okay with it. my show became successful and the $250 went to $5,000. Okay. So what extra value did I get in the extra 5,000? Well, there wasn't any more they did. And in fact, I did so many of these shows that they stopped coming and doing the inspection, and they gave me a blanket. So the government's responsibilities went down. They didn't have to pay overtime people, and they didn't even have to do paperwork. They did less paperwork and had less employees, but yet my rate went up to $5,000 because my show was successful and it could pay the $5,000. Mm-hmm. The regulations in business are the exact same way. If the FDA can charge you $1 million, right, mm-hmm. and you can afford it, then that's the regulation. You're like, what did the $1,000 buy? Labor, paperwork, a truck. How much stuff went into that? And who set the arbitrary price of $1 million? It's only the amount that you can afford. It wasn't actual value. So I would probably say in a regulation, there's 10% legit, 90% waste. Okay, so the paperwork you file out is just justifying your job, right? Yep. So if you could just cut the regulation and all that stupid shit. So if you go back and look at the officers that had to come to, I'd still be okay with $250, and you'd be able to reduce, $4,750 off of my regulation and still have the tour of my facility to make sure it was safe for people to come down. End of story.
Yeah. Greed.
Government freaking greed. That's actual greed right there.
That is actual greed.